Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Recruiter podcast. I'm Sam Bylett, and today I'm joined by Joyshree Reinelt, founding partner at Innate Motion. Joyce, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Great to have you. So, yeah, for anyone that's unfamiliar with your work, can you walk us through what you do and what inspired this human first approach to business?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the question. So, we are in the 18th year of Innate Motion, and we call ourselves the business humanizing company. And when we started the company, we had this observation that often you apply too much business logic to humans, whereas we wanted to apply more human logic to business. So, in essence, we are a strategic growth consultancy and we have three pillars. One is grow the market, the second one is grow the brand, and the third one is grow the organization. And we always put people at the core of what we're doing because we strongly believe that if you are too transactional, you are losing the most important element, which is the human magic.
Yeah, and I think that's even more important in today's world, right? I think with fast pace and with all the tech and AI, I think this is really important to put humans first right now.
Absolutely. Well, I must say that when we started 18 years ago, we also thought it was relevant. People looked at us thinking, who are you, business humanizers? So I think we were ahead of the curve. By now, people are like, oh, you humanize business. That's so relevant. And I think that goes back to what you're saying, Sam, that it seems the world has become darker, colder, more hostile, that you feel you need some more humanizing. But I would say in good or bad times, it's always necessary.
Absolutely love that. And yeah, you've partnered with some major players on purpose branding. In your view, why do so many companies still struggle to embed purpose in a way that feels real, not just like a marketing slogan?
I love that question. Well, I feel that there was a time or an era. Well, first of all, when we started, nobody knew about purpose, right? It was still something new. People were still talking about emotional branding or cultural branding. So, how can I get my brand to be super loved? How do I get these loyal consumers? How can we become iconic? When we then started to talk about purpose, it was really important to us because we said, what is our right of existence in this world? What is our contribution and what can a brand do beyond selling products to consumers? So that's how we defined purpose. Then it became very trendy all of a sudden. And I think there was still one misconception, which I see even sometimes today, is that brands actually see it as an advertising campaign or the next slogan, because there's the sense of people want to buy brands that do good. So let's just put it on the next campaign and then people are going to buy us. However, what we see is that brands need to act their purpose before they advertise it. And what I mean by this is that purpose needs to be lived. It can't be a poster child, right? So people need to buy into it, people need to live it, and people need to feel it. So if purpose isn't lived in the culture of a company and it's just represented in campaigns, consumers will feel it. And specifically, if you're looking at the younger generations and also the proliferation of social media, where marketing has also shifted from shouting to people or broadcasting to people, people now have definitely gained more power. So there was a shift of power from brands to people. And this one-sided communication has also shifted to conversations and participation. So consumers now also want to be heard and they also vote with the wallet. I mean, it's a very straight decision, right? I go to a shop, I can buy you or I can't buy you, I can cancel you. So in this perspective, it's even more important that purpose is authentically lived and acted upon and goes beyond advertising.
Yeah, yeah, such an important message that. And I saw a study recently. It said 68% of consumers actually distrust brands that claim to have social purpose. How do you help businesses close that gap between messaging and action?
Yes. So whenever we do a purpose definition, or we call it a brand positioning with purpose at its core, we make sure that it's not just a lofty sentence. So once we've cracked the positioning with the purpose, we also define what it means in reality. So what's the roadmap? And if you have that purpose that actually serves as your North Star, then you know what implications it's going to have on your business. And what we see is that it can steer a certain level of discomfort because it's not comfortable to live purpose. It's not an easy job, right? So you need to invest. It is something about investing your heart, investing your soul, investing your belief. And it also requires a certain level of vulnerability. And if you see that companies or people in companies are not ready for that vulnerability yet, then it becomes difficult. Because if you want to truly live it, you need to make choices. You need to stop doing certain things and start doing other things. And some things, obviously, you will also keep. It's not like reinventing the whole wheel, but it's also about accountability. So to give you one example, we've been working for baby milk formula manufacturer, one of the biggest in the world in Southeast Asia. And obviously, they had a lot of backlash because WHO says breastfeeding is the best that you should do for your kids. So why are you working in this category and selling infant milk to a population of a country where many are not as wealthy? So there's a lot of bottom of the pyramid. And there were many NGOs that went against them. So first of all, we tried to align the purpose because the purpose is also about your shared ambition. And so what we could do is to see what do those NGOs want to achieve? What does this brand want to achieve? If all of them want to achieve the healthy growth of children for a prosperous future, that's something where everybody could come around the table and say yes. That was one. Secondly, the company that we were working with, we said, okay, now that you have defined a shared vision and a shared ambition that even turns your position from the enemy to an important stakeholder in how you're impacting the growth of healthy babies and healthy children, what is it that you're going to change within your company that goes beyond brand? So in this case, I think the legal maternity leave was 8 weeks, and they put it up to 6 months for all of their employees because they said that's the recommendation of WHO, at least 6 months of breastfeeding. And we want to help everyone who works for us to do that without having to pump milk. So this is really about walking the talk and taking a decision that also costs some money because usually those women or moms would be back after 8 weeks, right? Instead of coming back after 6 months. So for me, this is an example that shows that you really need to be serious about it, that you need leaders on the top that are ready to invest beyond short-term profit. And finally, it will also shape the culture of the organization because people who work there will not become cynical, but actually think we're doing it. We're really doing it. And that's something that consumers, and not just consumers, whether it's investors or whoever in the business world that make you flourish, will also see and recognize.
That's so interesting. You don't really think of what actually goes into these campaigns, do you? It's crazy just speaking to you like that, but so important as well to get that messaging right in that campaign. But yeah, that was brilliant. When we spoke before, you mentioned the growing backlash against things like wokeness and greenwashing. What's your gut check for whether a brand's purpose is real or just performing?
I love that question because there's been so much of backlash these days, which is why I also say we talk about brand positioning more than purpose positioning these days because people think, but we don't want to be woke, So first of all, again, you need to live it. And what we see is that if you are only using purpose as a communication strategy, then it's probably not going far enough. If you use it as a business compass that actually guides all of your actions, then you are way more serious about it. So purpose needs to inform all parts of your business, not just your brand. That's when you can see that the people are actually serious about it. So the example that I just gave you about the infant milk formula, it was they hired us on brand, but in the end, it informed a lot of their business units beyond brand. So if you are saying, I have a purpose and I use it as a North Star that will also guide how I innovate, that guides how I hire talent, that guides incentives and rewards, that's when it actually becomes real. And I think if you can ask anybody in the organization, what's the purpose of your brand or what's the organization that you're working for? If anybody, even the frontline worker or factory worker, or in Asia, we used to say the tea boy because they still have people who bring you tea.
Oh, really?
So they are still like the most simple person in the organization who has a very crucial role to play, not just the marketers and the people with sitting at their desks strategizing. If those people can tell you what their purpose is, that's a great test because then you have boiled it down to its human essence. You fueled why they're coming to work every day without it being in an academic vision or mission statement.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, your team is spread across Europe and Asia. How do those different cultural perspectives shape the way you approach your human first work?
Yeah, I love that question. I think that's something we're really, really proud of. So just to add on, we have people in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, LATAM, and US. So pretty much the whole
Yeah,
world.
cover the world.
Yes. And I think it's part of our DNA. So if you look at the founders of Innate Motion, all of us have either origins in another country or roots from another country, lived in another country, married a person from another country, or have just lived and studied in many different places. So I think all of us are very, very passionate about culture in general and how cultures are different. And most of us, even now, live it in our reality. So we always joke that people in our collective who are born in one place and their parents were born in the same place and they still live in that place, that it's actually quite unique within our collective because and there's nothing against them, right? But most of us are very much more, as I said, traveled, mixed, etc. So I think that already comes with a certain level of curiosity, not falling into bias traps and stereotyping, and keeping that curious mind of understanding why is this different in another culture than mine. When we're working with clients or on brands, again, that human-centric element comes in. Because if you can elevate to an existential level, to an identity level, and to a psychological or emotional level, then human beings all have the same blueprint. All of us know what's fear. All of us know what's joy. All of us know what's ambition. It's just manifested in different ways and in cultures. So the way we work is to come to that highest human level, first of all, and to get a deep understanding of what that is, and then to understand what's that context in culture. So to give you an understanding, we've worked with one of the biggest over-the-counter medication brands globally, and they asked us, how do people relate with pain? And because they were about painkillers. And we did this study, I think, in around 15 to 20 markets globally. And rather than asking, well, how long or how fast does a pill need to work? Or what's the mode of action? We asked, what does pain signify in your life? And how do you deal with it? And it was really interesting. So me coming from Germany, in Germany, you need to be in control and the master of your body, right? Relieving pain is about individual responsibility and also making sure that you don't drink too much alcohol and have a hangover. So it is about taking accountability and it is closely tied to performance. That was Germany. We went to Japan. They have this concept of gaman where you have to endure it and not show it because it's about keeping social harmony. So even if people are in pain, they will not necessarily show you. And it makes you a stronger person if you can actually endure it. Then we went to Brazil, where we saw, because it's such a collective society and such a we-oriented society, other than Germany, the whole family suffered. So if one person is in pain, everyone is in pain because you want to help and support and it affects the whole constellation. So this is where we use our cultural diversity in saying we are cultural insiders across the world, and we can use people with different cultural backgrounds to also sense what's same and what's different. And if I go to another culture with a curious mindset, not a judging one, I'll ask, but why do you do it this way? This is really curious because in my country, we do it differently. And if you have that combination of people who are in a culture and just take things for granted because they've been imprinted that way, and you combine it with people who are new or outsiders to that culture, that's when you can unveil deep human insights that make a difference.
Yeah, that was absolutely fascinating. Thanks for that answer. That's brilliant. One thing a lot of companies are wrestling with now is how to build culture in hybrid and remote teams. What do you think leaders need to do differently to create that kind of real belonging?
Yes, love that question because that's also part of our reality. So when we
Yeah,
found Innate Motion, we said no bricks, no borders, no bosses. And then later on in 2015, we added B Corp. So those are our 4 Bs. So no bricks means that we don't have offices and we've never had. So we've been remote from day one before it was a thing. And we were very conscious about that decision and also aware that you need to build a culture for people that feel well in this culture. Right. And how do we create that sense of belonging? It's basically that once a year we do what we call a pilgrimage, meaning we bring all the company together in one place. And we've been choosing different places from the first years, it was more in Asia. So we've been to Koh Samui, but we've also been to South Africa. And the later years, we've been more in Europe, whether Athens, Lisbon, Brighton, more also from a sustainability perspective, because we want to see where do people fly into, from where, and how do we keep our carbon footprint low. At the same time, we want to give back to the community where we are for a week. We live like in a village for a week, meaning it's a time of coming together, of bonding, of getting to know the colleagues that you might not know on a deeper level and more personal level. And it's also about growing thought leadership together. So it's a lot about co-creation. So we have devised rituals that we feel will enhance the culture that we want to create. And if you're looking at big companies, they can do it in a similar way. So maybe they can't take 10,000 people to one place, but they can also install rituals that are connected to the culture. And what we see is that culture cannot be dictated from the top. I mean, many people can say, but we are a culture of innovators and risk takers and you name it. It's not going to happen if people don't feel it. So as much as culture creates people, people create culture. So that's my my recommendation to leaders is what is the ritual that connects to your values? What's the ritual that you can make a daily habit that actually strengthens the values and the beliefs that are the very part of the fabric of your culture?
yeah, absolutely love that. I bet that's something you look forward to every year.
Yes, absolutely.
Where's the place for this year?
You're lucky because we just, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, decided it's Barcelona.
Oh, lovely. Very nice.
Because we've been the last couple of years mainly in Germany, Netherlands, Belgium. And then people were saying, can we go to a sunnier place? And then we had to do all that, as I said, the sustainability calculation as well. And for us being a B Corp, it's also about traveling by train, not by plane if we can. But yeah, we're very excited to be in Barcelona this year.
Yeah, I bet. And we're seeing AI obviously take over more and more human facing interactions. In your opinion, how do brands walk that line between efficiency and real human connection?
That's an interesting one. And I don't know yet, to be
Right.
honest. And I think we ourselves have also thought, oh, what is this? What's this AI thing? Right. And those robots. But I think rather than demonizing it, we also started working with it. And as I said earlier, curiosity is one of the main human assets that we have. So let's be curious of what this AI is actually doing. And we've been experimenting a lot with it as well. Like, will it help us come to deeper insights. How can we use it in the best possible way? Because you don't want to stay behind. And what we see internally, but also the brands that we are working with, is that AI can only it can be an enhancer. It can be a springboard of ideas. It's a great sparring partner, I feel. Like I can ask it things like, what do you think about this and that? Right. And sometimes it helps you also to say it's not the right thing, because that will also then spur my thoughts. What I feel is that human magic, that human element of curiosity, of empathy, of creativity cannot be replaced, because AI is still functioning on algorithms. And there's a lot of bias in the algorithms as well. And there are a lot of studies that they're saying it is more masculine led, or certain cultures over other cultures. So it lacks the real human sense making that only we can do. So I would say brands can use it definitely to make repetitive tasks easier or to be more efficient and faster, but you cannot outsource your soul. You cannot outsource empathy. You cannot outsource what makes engagement or a relationship deep, because that's only something humans can do and AI can mimic.
Yeah, totally agree with you there for sure. And yeah, what's next for Innate Motion? Is there any exciting new plans in the pipeline? Are you looking to expand any new markets at all?
Yeah, well, since we work across borders or borderless, I would say every year we work in more than 70 markets, which has to do with the fact that most of our clients are global or love us for that cultural understanding across markets. So there are no expansion plans in that perspective. We do want to help grow the movement of business humanizing. We want to use and keep using business as a force for good. And we want to work with companies either that are already on the journey, but I also find it super interesting to work with companies that aren't on the journey yet, because either they feel it's too costly, too expensive, just for the happy few, whatever barriers they have, right? But to show that it's actually possible for each and every company to use business as a force for good, to be purposeful. And what we see is that it's so much more fun and so much more fulfilling for yourself if you are getting up every morning, going to work and knowing you're doing something useful rather than just selling products and making money. So I would say we want to stay on our track and are curious to see what else happens.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been truly fascinating. Really, really enjoyed it. For our listeners, could you just let them know how they can get in contact with you and find out a bit more about Innate Motion?
Yes, absolutely. So we have our website, which is innatemotion.com. Happy to hear you there or see you there. And otherwise, I'm available also on LinkedIn. You can easily find me, and would love to hear feedback. I'd love to hear from listeners who want to join the movement, because basically everybody can be a business humanizer if you're using that human logic to business rather than the other way around.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Speak
you,
to you
Sam.
soon.
It was a
Cheers.
pleasure being with you. Thanks so much.